My sister claimed my house as family property. Then her husband's failed break-in attempt finally exposed their true colors. I, 34M, never thought I'd be writing this kind of post, but after what happened last night, I need to get this off my chest and maybe get some outside perspective on whether I'm handling this situation right. This whole mess has been building for months, and I honestly don't know if I'm crazy for standing my ground or if my family has completely lost their minds. Some background. I bought my house 5 years ago after working 60-hour weeks and living like a hermit to save up for the down payment. It's a modest 3-bedroom in a decent suburban neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's mine, and I worked damn hard for it. The mortgage payments are manageable because I was careful not to overextend myself, and I've spent the last few years slowly fixing it up and making it exactly how I want it. My sister, 31F, has always been the golden child in our family. Growing up, she got everything she wanted while I was told to be responsible and understanding. Our parents helped her through college, bought her a car, and even paid for her wedding 3 years ago. Meanwhile, I worked through school, took the bus, and saved up for everything I have. I don't resent this because I'm proud of being self-sufficient, but it's important context for what's happening now. The current situation started 3 months ago when my sister showed up at my door unannounced on a Sunday afternoon. I knew something was wrong immediately. She was fidgeting with her wedding ring, which she only does when she's really stressed. She asked if we could talk, and I invited her in, made coffee, and listened as she explained that she and her husband were having financial troubles. Apparently, her husband lost his job 6 months ago during a company restructure. They'd been getting by on her income and his unemployment, but they were struggling to keep up with their apartment rent and other bills. I sympathized. Job loss is tough, and I wanted to help. I offered to help review their budget, connect her husband with some contacts in my industry, or even lend them some money for a security deposit if they needed to move somewhere more affordable. That's when she dropped the bomb that started this whole nightmare. Actually, she said, stirring her coffee and not meeting my eyes, we were thinking you could give us your house. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but she was dead serious. Her reasoning? They needed it more because they were planning to start a family, while I lived alone and didn't need all this space. She had already worked out in her head that I could move back into an apartment, and they would take over the house, because it would be better for the family. When I firmly told her no, explaining that this was my home that I'd worked hard for, she burst into tears, called me selfish, brought up how our parents had always helped her out. She even tried guilt-tripping me by saying I was denying my future nieces and nephews a stable home. When that didn't work, she switched to anger, saying I owed the family for all the times they'd supported me and that this was my chance to finally contribute something. I maintained my composure, but told her firmly that the house wasn't up for discussion. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard my neighbor texted to ask if everything was okay. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. So wrong. Over the next few weeks, I got bombarded with calls and texts from various family members. My sister had apparently gone on a campaign, telling everyone who would listen that I was hoarding space and wealth while she and her husband were on the verge of homelessness. Some relatives actually took her side, saying I should help family and that I was being selfish. Others stayed quiet, not wanting to get involved in the drama. My parents were the worst. They called daily, trying to reason with me. My mom brought up every sacrifice she'd ever made for us, implying I was a terrible son for not doing the same. My dad tried the practical angle, suggesting I could sell them the house at a massive discount and invest the money elsewhere. When I pointed out that I'd be the one taking a huge financial hit in that scenario, he said, "Sometimes we have to put family first." The situation escalated when my sister and her husband started driving by my house multiple times a day. They'd slow down, take pictures, and sometimes park across the street for hours. When I confronted them about it, they claimed they were documenting the waste of space and building a case. I started documenting these incidents, just in case. Then came the social media posts. My sister started sharing passive-aggressive status updates about selfish people who don't care about family, and what goes around comes around. She even posted photos of my house, claiming I was hoarding a family home that rightfully should go to someone starting a family. Some distant relatives I haven't spoken to in years started commenting, calling me names, and suggesting I was some kind of monster for not sharing my blessings. I blocked them on social media, but the harassment continued through other channels. They started telling mutual friends and even my co-workers about the situation, trying to pressure me through any means possible. One of my cousins even suggested they could report my house for code violations to teach me a lesson. Last week, things took an even darker turn. I came home from work to find my sister, her husband, and my parents in my driveway. They brought a real estate agent with them and were apparently planning to show them around my house to get it ready for the transfer. When I refused to let them in, My sister actually tried to use a spare key she'd copied during her last visit. I called the police, who came and explained to them that what they were doing was trespassing. My sister cried. My parents called me heartless, and her husband threatened to handle this another way. I filed a police report and got security cameras installed the next day. That brings us to last night. I was woken up at 2 a.m. by alerts from my new security system. Looking at the camera feed, I saw my brother-in-law, clearly drunk, trying to pick my back door lock with what looked like a screwdriver. He was muttering about how they deserved this house more than me and how he was doing this for his future kids. I called 911 immediately. When the police arrived, he tried to run but didn't get far. They arrested him for attempted breaking and entering, though they said I'd have to decide whether to press charges. He spent the night in jail until my sister bailed him out this morning. The aftermath has been intense. My sister called me crying, saying it was my fault for pushing her husband to this point by being unreasonable. She claimed if I had just done the right thing months ago, none of this would have happened. My parents are somehow still taking her side, saying I should drop the charges and that the best way to heal the family would be to sell them the house at a deep discount. I sent a group text to the entire family with photos of the damage to my door and screenshots from the security footage. Most of them have finally realized how insane this situation has become, but my sister, her husband, and our parents are still insisting I'm the villain here. The latest development? My sister just texted saying they've been generous by not suing me for denying them their rightful family property. She's claiming that because our parents helped me with a small portion of my college textbook costs 15 years ago, they have some kind of claim on my house. It's completely nonsensical, but I'm talking to a lawyer tomorrow just to protect myself. I've documented everything: the harassment, the stalking, the break-in attempt, all the texts and social media posts. My lawyer friend says I have enough for a restraining order if I want to go that route. But these are my family members. My sister and I used to be close when we were kids. We'd build blanket forts and defend them against imaginary monsters. Now she's become a real monster, and I don't know how to defend against that. Part of me hopes this is just temporary insanity brought on by financial stress, but another part worries this has permanently damaged our family beyond repair. I'm standing firm on not giving up my house. I've worked too hard for it, and giving into this insanity would only enable their entitled behavior. But I'm struggling with how to handle this moving forward. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thank you all for the responses and support. To address some common questions. 1. Yes, I have everything documented: police reports, security footage, screenshots of messages and social media posts, and records of all the drive-bys and harassment incidents. 2. Their financial troubles are largely self-inflicted. They still eat out 4 to 5 times a week, take weekend trips, and buy new clothes constantly. Their rent isn't even that high. They could easily afford it if they budgeted better. 3. I've repeatedly offered to help them find a more affordable place or connect them with job opportunities. They're not interested in any solution that doesn't involve getting my house. For those asking, no, my parents haven't offered their house to my sister. When I pointed this out, they said it's different because they still need their space. 5. My sister's husband's job loss was legitimate, but he's turned down several job offers because they weren't at his previous salary level. Edit 2. My sister just sent another text saying their lawyer thinks they have a strong case for adverse possession or something because they've claimed the property. I'm definitely meeting with my lawyer tomorrow morning. Edit 3. To the person who suggested I sell the house and buy a new one just to spite them, I appreciate the creativity, but I actually love my house and neighborhood. I'm not going to let them bully me out of my home. Final update. Just got out of the lawyer's office. He laughed out loud at their adverse possession claim and said they have absolutely no legal standing. He's drafting a cease and desist letter and helping me file for a restraining order. I'll be pressing charges for the break-in attempt too. Apparently letting it slide might make it harder to protect myself legally going forward.